And welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Lift Tower. My name's Charles McGilvray, and as always, I'm joined by Jess Kebbell and Simon Stacey. We're a fans podcast by fans for fans of Northampton Saints. How are you both doing?
I'm okay,
all right, thank you.
Wasn't the best of games of the weekend, was it now?
No.
I mean...
and that's the end of the podcast. No, I'm joking.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's rare that, you know, we have seen losses and there's been lots to discuss, etc. But I haven't left the ground for a long time feeling that deflated by a performance. I thought that was really
yeah.
Yeah.
You can't take away from Ealing though, that's the thing.
You know, Dalton said how we weren't up for it as much as Ealing. Right? And then for me, you know, he said that's what he saw on the pitch. You know, that's his perspective. That's what he saw. It looked like we weren't up for it as much as Ealing were. And that for me is just shameful. I mean, it really is poor. Like, if you can't be motivated by the shirt alone, then you've got to query if you're the right person for the shirt, because that performance was so lethargic, so there was no intent in what they were doing. There was no aggression. There was no willingness to really get stuck in and have a go at them. It was just so hands off defensively, and carrying was the ball. You know, they were taking the ball stood still and then trying to smash over a really eager and, you know, let's be fair, good performance from Ealing. They look like, and I don't like saying this at all, right? Because I don't believe it's true, but they looked like their hearts weren't in it.
Yeah.
You know, there were times as well where skill errors were just, I mean, really poor. You've got some of the best young prospects in the country in that side, and it's like they've been space jammed. Like they looked like they had zero ability to catch the ball. You know, I mean.
Yeah.
So shocking, that performance.
And I would argue as well, whether people agree or not, but I would also argue that in that competition, some of those young players should be more motivated than anyone. I'd say arguably you should be more motivated than the first team, because that's your chance. And if that's your sort of final audition, well, it doesn't look good for a huge chunk of them. I mean, even some of our first team players I didn't know what they were doing, or why they sort of bothered showing up for some of them. Honestly, I think outside of Ram, who I thought had a really good game and tried the best he possibly could, it just looked like no one else seemed to care. And so considering there was a lot of first team players in there, or people that are, you know, pushing for first team or whatever, like the amount of them that were in there, just it wasn't what I was expecting.
Nah, they were poor. They were poor in defence. The forwards were poor. The mauls were poor. The performance was poor. And, you know, the one thing, and I'm not blaming him because he's a quality, probably one of the best centres in the league, but it just shows when you don't have a fly half playing at fly half, makes a massive difference. Like, I know he's obviously, I'm guessing Mr. Max,
he was on the unavailable list. So I don't think we really didn't have a choice, did we? Like, it was either going to be, it was going to be him at centre. Yeah, it was going to be him at centre and Zavala at 10, or the other way around, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Realistically, so.
And that's like, you just see the difference if you've got a 10 playing there. But like you said, nobody it looked like, I'm not saying that maybe it was complacency because it was a championship side, but they're a good championship side, and maybe they just thought, we can win this easy. But it's for a semi-final in the cup competition. Do you know what I mean? That's the next stage, and they're at home.
And I think as well, was it not that they were I don't understand why they would go into it. And I think that they probably did underestimate Ealing, but I would want to question why, because they've beaten us before. And they're also, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe, but they are not the last champ side left in it. Out of everyone else that was left in it, is it all Prem clubs after that? So you've got to think that they're there flying the flag as the last one of a championship side in there. They're going to be seriously up for it. And that's why I'm sort of conscious as well of sort of the way we talk about it, because we can talk about how we lost because we were poor, but I'm also conscious of taking away from an Ealing performance that was actually really, really good. Like, looked like it was Prem quality level in some aspects of it. And again, you can probably put that down to, probably can put that down to us not performing. Like I said, maybe them just really pushing because they're the last champ side left. And they're now, as it turns out, it's not existing now, is it? Next year they've pulled out. So the champ sides have pulled out. So it's like literally is the last chance for a champ side to go and win that tournament and really kind of put a marker down. But no, it was just, you could see the frustration amongst the players as well in that last kind of 20 minutes because even at 20 minutes, like I didn't think I thought as soon as Ealing scored early on in the second half, I thought that was it. I normally I think we can claw our way back into it, but I wasn't getting that vibe. But at 20 minutes, 20 something, 24 points down, you thought it still is possible, and you could see that they thought it was possible. And then every time something went wrong, you could just see they were shouting at each other, they were giving looks at each other. Like, it just wasn't there that day. Not just like skill level and everything, but also just seemed to be like kind of the relationship between the players and what you probably expect to see just was missing for whatever reason.
There was no congealing of a common goal.
No.
There was lots of everyone trying to do their part and bits, and it wasn't working. There was no one getting them together, organising them, fixing issues on the fly, and giving them that sort of desire to really up the tempo. I mean, I thought, there were periods of the game when suddenly we got a few, a bit of speed into the game, and then there was a skill error, and that's because if you're not fully on it, skill errors are going to happen. If you're thinking about what you're doing because suddenly you put so much pressure on yourself, those errors come. You need to be on the pitch, going through the skills that you've rehearsed a million times and just enacting them. You don't need to be thinking about things, and they were overthinking things clearly when they thought, oh God, this is going to be one hell of an effort to pull ourselves back into this game. And like I said, I'm not, don't want to call out individuals or anything like that, but and I really don't want to be the person who goes one defeat and suddenly it's all awful. But that performance was shameful. It just was. If we'd lost just because of a phenomenal Ealing performance, then fine. But Ealing came, did a really good job, and they thrashed us, right? And we were never really in that game. We got back into it after 20 minutes or whatever it was, 30 minutes. But after that, we weren't in the game at all. Yes, there was a red card, but I honestly feel that the talent on the pitch, that shouldn't have even been a consideration. No. Yes, Ealing looked good, but we made them look like Leinster. We made them look phenomenal.
And that was the moment, really, wasn't it? Like, that red card, I was like, if there's one thing that should normally galvanise a team when they're behind and they get a red card, it's that. But even just the response to that was just like shrugging the shoulders of like, okay, well, that's happened. Like, there's no arguing again. Not that they should have argued against it, because I think it's a completely fair decision based on admittedly what I've seen and haven't really watched back because it's not, lack of whatever. But very much seemed like a fair decision to me based on what I saw live. And like I said, they didn't argue it because I think they knew, but it just felt like as a team, that's really when your captain gets everyone together and goes, right, we're not playing well, we're behind. Now this is going to get even tougher. We've got to pull together. And that was just felt like it was lacking. Like just kind of even any kind of cohesion or kind of a desire to try and get everyone together and start, even if you just start shouting at them.
It looked like a load of individuals, didn't it, really? And to be fair, there's a couple of boys on their side that have got a point to prove. Obviously, Mr. Collins, who did.
Yeah, definitely.
And what was the centre? I can't remember his name.
Bertoluk.
Yeah. You saw when he scored, he booted the flag out. So it's sort of like saying, you didn't really give me a chance here, did you? But there you go. But literally, I'm not taking away from their performance, but it was easy. Like, we didn't really stop. You watch some of their tries, they were so easily took. You just think, that's not Saints. The defence was awful. It was just a really crap day, really, to be fair. I'm sorry if that's swearing again. But it was just a poor performance. And, I don't know what more you need to work yourself up for to win a trophy, because it's probably the only one we're going to win this year, which we're not now. The only thing is, they get the only worry as well is we're off for, is it 4 weeks now?
3 weeks.
Without a game?
3. Yeah,
3 weeks without a game. Then we've got them up the road. Brilliant.
Yeah, they may organise a friendly I think they're going to have to organise a friendly for that, but to get some game time in. But it's not the same as a cup game where both teams are fully going for it. But yeah, I don't want to talk about individuals specifically, right? But I think we probably should. I mean, I think there's an example of, if we think back to the Coventry away game, when we really struggled in those conditions and whatnot, and Hutchinson was in that side, and I felt there in that moment, because I'm his biggest fan. He's one of my favourite players, right? His ability is untold, right? But his ability to sort of make decisions and grasp a game tactically wasn't on display then. And I think that was sort of another thing in this game. And so, I think there's one area of his game where he needs to start stepping up as an international and working on, because he's got all the skills in the world to move the ball, create space for others, pull them into the game. But you've got to think sort of tactically and organising things and a vocal voice that's constructive, because I don't think he's shown his best of that this season.
And I wonder if
to get top level.
Yeah, there's always a discussion as well of he never makes it into Scotland side, and why hasn't he made it into Scotland side? And sometimes we chalk it up to just the players in that Scotland side are just very good players. But I also wonder how much that factors into it, that they probably know he's got the skill set and they know he's got the ability to get people into the game, but there are some striking weaknesses about his game. And again, I say that as someone who is a big fan of him. I think all round he's fantastic, and I'd have him starting in the centre week in, week out. But it's a question of what happens when you have to it's a take of leadership. And we also need to put it down to the fact that he's playing out of position, and that's always difficult. But he should have been able to grasp hold of that game slightly, and that felt like it was missing. But then it felt like it was missing from everyone. So again, it's a hard kind of thing that I didn't feel like anyone really at any point sort of stepped up and was like, right, I'm going to try and take control of this and try and encourage other people to take control of it.
It's one of them.
Yeah,
right?
He's not
a 10. He's not, honestly, he's not. I'm not.
No, exactly. It's
such a specialist position. Even makeshift. It's Cuba. I always get his name wrong.
Yeah,
he's a young lad, but he's got that mindset like Finn has, and you can be a world class centre, but to move that to 10, it's a totally different gravy. And he's a good player, but he's just not a 10, and it showed. It showed again.
I think it's also one of those ones where when you've got Finn Smith and Dingle either side of you in a midfield, you can let the game management. You don't have to do it. You can leave it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Dingle will organise and with Finn, and Finn will make those decisions in terms of moving you around the pitch, and even if it's instructing you to move the ball around the pitch, etc. You've got that in there. But when you take those away and you've got less experienced players in either side of you, you need to step up and learn. You've got enough experience, enough appearances for Saints that it might not be a strength, but you've just got to do it. I mean, the whole playing 10 thing is the mechanics of standing in at first receiver that's not alien to him. He can do that easily. He does that when he plays centre, right? It's the decision making processes. It's the cohesion of everything that it just. For a player that I really, really rate and love watching him play, I just want to see more of that from him. Really, even when he's playing in the first side, strongest side, whatever.
Yeah,
it's I'd love to see that more. I think and I think a number of the players coming back from that England A squad didn't turn up either, and that's an experience that's all new to them.
Yeah.
Coming back from an international week away, different squad, different environment, to coming back into Saints, having to switch straight back into it.
Yeah.
That might not have happened. That might be a learning curve for all of them.
Yeah, it will come. It's just one of those things that will come with time, because we had the same issue, didn't we, when they all went down to. Honestly, it was an incredible trip for them, and they wouldn't ever regret going. But we had the same thing when they all went down to South Africa, got that incredible win, and then they just didn't turn up the next week, because that's probably physically and mentally exhausting. And it's probably the same with, especially as we think about some of those people that came back from England Day and had come back, your Tom Lockett who'd come back off of like a man of the match winning performance. we can easily sit here and go, well, he should have been riding that high through, but actually it probably takes so much out of you to put that performance in and then have to deal with the kind of mental and emotional load of having played for your country and then, you know, coming back and swapping into a different side and a different setup, and they're just, like you said, they're new to it. And if you put them in, you know, if you said that this time next year, it probably wouldn't be the same, because they just have to build up the experience of having, you know, it's why someone like a Finn Smith and an Alex Mitchell and Freeman, you know, those that are with the England senior side, like when they come back, they'll probably seamlessly step back in. But that's the experience that they've already had of playing at that level, particularly like a Mitchell who's been playing for England quite consistently. You know, it's probably more of a seamless transition for him now, but it isn't for some of the younger guys. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a learning curve. It's an experience that, you know, as horrible as it was to watch that game, like it is an experience for them, and they'll be better for it next time around. It just sucks that they've had to go through that in order to get that. But, you know, all teams and all players will have had that at one point in their career, probably, you know, just an absolutely horrible game coming off of a game that was really, really good. And so they'll be better for it next time. But it's just unfortunate it happened in a knockout game that, you know, it's not something it's not like we've lost a pool game and we can make it right the next week. Like, it's just the timing of that and the fact that that's now put that competition, you know, to an end for us.
Yeah, I think Dawson used the right word when he said humbled. I think,
yeah,
you know, that performance is humbling for the side, and they need to learn quick, you know, that the lessons from that. You know, yes, you've gone away and you've played for England, and it's amazing, and it's a great representation of Northampton Saints, and from an individual, everyone's really happy for that individual. But, you know, wearing the jersey, whether it be in the cup or the league or whatever, is an honour. And if you're not prepared to honour that honour, then you've got to quit. You've got to shape up, because, you know, it's not acceptable to come back and be half-hearted and you know, not as motivated as the opposition. That is the bare minimum, that you go out there and you want to represent that shirt more than anyone else, more than the opposition. That is a bare minimum. If you know, there's ups and downs through a season, and you might get a team that's just on the peak of its desperation, and you, as much as you want to be motivated, as much as you are motivated, you can't match them, right? But to have such disparity was not good enough in my view.
There was only two of them, there wasn't it? There was only two that went away that played. Was there a reason why we didn't play the other boys? Or was it Hendy and Lockett, wasn't it? There wasn't
Hendy and
else.
Lockett.
Yeah, I imagine they rested a few, and then a few.
Yeah, would have rested some. So, like, Hafard didn't play for England. He played for England A, but he'd also played for us because of Manny's injury. So Manny was always going to play that game, for example. So there's a couple of them where it would have been for those particular reasons. I'm not sure what the reason necessarily is with like a Pearson per se, but yeah, I understand the rest. But
if they hadn't played in the previous rounds, they're not allowed to play in the knockout.
There's also rules about who can and cannot play in knockout games. But I have a feeling that Pearson has played in one of those pool games at some point, but possibly not. It's hard to remember, but
there's a plus side. There is one plus side. Arundel come back.
Yeah, Berger coming back was fantastic. He should have been the model for the rest. He should have been the model for the rest of them. For the rest of them to be like, well, this guy's really up for it, so why the hell aren't the rest of you? Like, because I mean, that tackle that he made, I mean, he basically just destroyed someone within the first 5 seconds of coming on. I said, should have used that, shouldn't they? Should have used that to sort of be like, well, damn, he's up for it. Like, you know, if he's up for it, you know, he can kind of get the rest of us inspired. But he just was like a one-man army for the rest of the time that he was on.
His first involvement after all this time off was a late off the ball hit.
It wasn't great,
and it was marginal.
It was so hard as well.
It was perfectly fine. But it was late. But
yeah, I think for me the fact was more of like it wasn't like the late off the ball thing. So it said it was like a marginal in real time. It's so marginal you wouldn't call it. Yeah, for me, it's the fact that I didn't really see any proper attempt to wrap. He just shoved the guy really hard.
He just lined him up and smashed him.
That was good to see him back.
It was too late. The problem was it was too late at that point in the game.
Like Al said, he said, unfortunately, him coming back, we could have done better for him. He said he felt really bad for him because he didn't want to. Probably didn't want to bring him on when he had to.
Yeah.
And he's come back onto a losing team. So yeah, but it is what it is. It's some days you just have a rubbish day at the office, and it seemed literally everybody. Ram to me looks still like world class. Some of his finishing,
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
untouchable, isn't he?
Yeah,
But yeah, the rest just had an off day, and it's poor show at the Gardens.
Yeah, I mean around the Gardens as well. I mean, worth touching on. It wasn't well attended.
But
You know,
do you think the club helped themselves out by not knocking the money down on the tickets, mate? Like my tickets were 60 odd quid.
I mean, mine was cheap. Mine was cheaper. But the thing is, I feel like people miss. So it's not necessarily about the price per se. It's like about people that claiming it should be free. I said I hate to break it to you, but it costs money to put something on. Like the amount of season ticket holders that were like, "Why isn't it part of the season ticket package?" I was like, for multiple reasons. Like, knockouts never are, and also it also in my mind. Yeah, no, of course. But there's a lot of people that were. And I was like, well, it kind of also devalues a competition. It basically suggests that you think it's not worth paying for, despite the fact that they've got to open a ground, pay staff, pay players, pay, everything. So that was a bit strange. But then also I can't talk for myself because for me, I was in my category of seat is silver. And my mum's ticket was 30 quid and mine was 20. So I had no complaints personally. Like I thought that was a really good deal for us. Like ours were actually not that expensive.
Yeah, I don't get any discounts. I'm gold, so I sit just behind the team. So there's literally no discount. So I think if I wanted to buy another seat next to me, it was 122 quid, which is insane.
Yeah.
Which I'm not blaming the club because they've got to make money, but for a quarter final against Ealing in a cup that is supposed to be a development cup, I do think they've messed up.
But then I suppose the problem is that you make it too cheap. Then what does it say about the competition? Like you have to make it cheap.
You have to make it cheap, but it's the same price as Clermont match. To me, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think the gold pricing, I agree, doesn't quite like my ticket compared my ticket to the Tigers ticket. I bought an extra ticket for the Tigers game.
Yeah.
The Tigers ticket I bought was 50 odd quid, and this ticket I bought, which was my normal season ticket, was 30 odd quid, right? So there is a difference. 30 quid is not the end of the world. I think that's
and I also felt like, especially for like kids. I think kids tickets would have been, and obviously I have the benefit still of being in the young adult category, so mine is cheaper anyway. But like my Clermont ticket I think was 45 quid, and it was 21 for this, so more than half price. So like I said, gold is sort of a question of its own of like they should still be reducing prices for that as well. But I actually thought that for 3/4 of the ground, I felt that pricing was more than fair for the game that was going on. And it was a lovely day at a really good time on a Saturday. But it just felt like a lot of people wanted to, especially a lot of season ticket holders, wanted to just make the point because they felt like it should be free. And the amount of people that have commented that all over the place of it should have been included, it should have been included. I was like, it shouldn't. It never has. Like that's it's not the way the world works. But
no. I just think I'm not blaming the club because they've got to make money because it costs a lot to run a match. But for gold and platinum tickets, like if I wanted to bring my stepkids, I would have to pay nearly 200 quid for that. Are you having a laugh? I'm sorry. I could have moved.
Whereas like when you look at it from like the converse thing, like because the tickets everywhere else around the ground were cheaper, there was so many kids around. Like there were a lot of families who had decided, right, it's actually a bit cheaper, I can afford to bring my kid. Like we had so many kids sat around us that wouldn't be normally like in our little area. So like it's kind of like the pros and cons of specifically where it is that you sit, because like for the gold members it's probably not worth it necessarily, but for everyone else,
but then that's,
it probably is.
Silly?
But
that's silly. Make the whole stadium.
You should knock the same amount off of everything, I think, just to make it. I get, definitely.
My stepson's 13. I'm not paying 66 quid for a ticket for him. If I wanted to bring him, I'd have gone and sat in a different stand.
In a different bit,
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It is a bit crazy that they don't do that. I get it. They got to make money, but that's probably why half the stadium was empty, because they did overprice it, in my opinion.
I think if you get a concession or a kids ticket in the gold, is it still the same price?
There's no such thing. You don't get concessions.
Yeah, they don't have it.
There's a couple that sit 2 up from me. They
do everywhere else
because they've just gone into pensioners' age, and it's the same price. It's nearly £700 a year. They've moved down a block. It's something like £400. It's ridiculous because they're saying. But most of the people around me are old. They've like sat there since the stadium has been built. So it's just crazy.
So we get concessions in the silver bit because we're just a bit further down from Simon. So you get concessions everywhere else. It's just not the gold. But then also I would say that like the seats were empty even in kind of like the end stands where it isn't gold and there was still nobody turning up. But I just felt like there'd be a lot of people in my age bracket. So the young adult is 19 to 30 and it was 20 quid. The concessions will have been half of that. I actually felt like the pricing everywhere that wasn't gold was more than fair enough. But I also appreciate we're living in times where like it is difficult for people, but it just felt a little bit like a lot of the comments were focusing on how I think they all seem to forget. It's like prices have to go up because everything is going up, right? The price of everything is going up. So it has to go up because we've got the same with the season tickets of why is it so much money? And I think we've also got to think that, like I said, wages, like minimum wages going up, lots of things, lots of stuff are going up. So like year on year, prices have to increase. And actually, I still think we get a really good deal at Northampton in terms of the prices when you compare it to some of the other clubs. Like, I know we always use Bath as the obvious example because it's absolutely insane, the prices that they charge. But if you think that 3 clubs have gone under, we aren't in the green, and that's rare that, well, it's not called the green, is it? Whatever the colour is. You know, we're not making a profit, we're still making a loss. Like, they've got to increase, they just do. And I still think that actually when you look at how much you get, how much you're paying for each match in terms of a season ticket, I still think it's really good value for money. But I also appreciate that not everyone's in necessarily the same. But there seems to be a conversation every year of why is the price going up? I said, because everything is, like, their costs are going up. And so unfortunately yours have to. Like, that's just life. You know, it's not great, obviously. But the one thing we really don't want is the club to continue to make losses and end up, at the moment, we seem to be fairly safe in terms of, you know, financial status, but that doesn't mean that that's going to stay that way, you know, necessarily. So yeah, I can see it from people's point of view, but I think for me the thing I really just didn't like was people claiming that it should be free as part of their package. I was like, for one thing, it's an extra game they've had to put on, so they've got to draft extra people in, and I think it really devalues the status of a competition and almost kind of says to Ealing, like, well, we don't really care that you're coming to play, we're just going to give our seats away for free. I also think just kind of like the attitude around that would really kind of stink. So
yeah. I
just think if you just said, apart from standing, whatever stand you sit in, adults 25 quid, kids 15.
Yeah, it should just have been a standard thing. Yeah,
it's just like, because, and I'm getting why. So I wouldn't say why the heck you'd think it should be free. That's just absolutely ridiculous. But it might be the people that sit around me on the opposite side that are platinum.
Yeah,
got to pay 65, 70 quid for a quarter final in the cup. I'm not trying to disregard the cup.
Well, no,
it's just
it's not worth it at all.
But it's not the same standard. I don't think anyone would necessarily. I'm not trying to say like it is Prem standard, we should treat it as such. But yeah, I definitely think there's a very clear case for why it's not going to be free as part of a season ticket package, even though people will always push for it.
I think we can all agree that it shouldn't have been free. That makes no sense. We can agree that there were reasonable price tickets in the ground available. But
just not everywhere.
Maybe that it's a bit harsh to keep the same price for the platinum and gold tickets. I think don't think that was quite right. You know, they should have been at a reduced rate because at the end of the day, the results was it was a half-empty stadium. The ground was the energy in the ground was flat. I mean, when you drive up to the ground and you get turned left into the car park on the left rather than one on the right.
On the right, yeah.
It's going to be a dead day, and you know the vendors do worse in the village and all this sort of stuff. So
it might be worth something we can bring up. I don't know. People know we're in the SEG. Might be worth bringing that up next meeting we're at.
Yeah.
Like, you guys don't sit in areas, but like if I wanted to bring the whole family, like it's 4 of us. That's 240, nearly 260. Yeah. That's insane.
Whereas where you were sitting
20 years.
Yeah, whereas if you sat where I was, I think it was probably like 10, 15 quid for concession, so you could bring 4 kids for 60, which is like the price of one of yours. Like,
so let's move on. Final comment on the game was obviously we did have a prediction. We can say none of us got the result or the margin because we all got the result wrong.
I got a point though.
You get the point for Hendy scoring, and therefore Jess has got her first point on the board. First person other than me to get a point on the board. So it's currently 2-0-1.
Thank you, George.
0.
I was close.
He also scored first. He scored first as well, and I was like,
I was close with the score if you switch them.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
You would have been. You switched.
One good thing that came out of that was that Hendy scored and he scored first, and I was like, I don't have to worry for the rest of the game as to whether I'm going to get a point. It's happened.
Yeah.
And then and so I just kept. I wasn't willing anyone not to score,
point,
but
to get a point, even though we've lost.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you
so
don't
that
get
round
you.
score was 0-0-1.
Yeah, 0-0-1.
But if you don't predict the score, surely that should nullify the
No, I
round.
think the only thing was that if you predicted Saints to win, you can't get the margin points.
Yeah, you can't get
But
them.
you can still get the scores. Don't take this away from me.
No,
Don't take it away from me.
Just as one that,
And don't take it away from George, even though it's not his.
ultimately, that was the the point of the scorer is to be the tiebreak. And we
I thought it was like a bonus. I just thought it was like a bonus point if you actually predicted the game. So if you pick Saints win, you get a point. Then the margin, you get another point, and then the try score is a bonus point.
It's like a way to it's a way to kind of, like you said, it's like a tiebreaker in situations where, as it turned out this week, it doesn't tiebreak anything. It just
it's just so there are more points available so that we don't all get the same point every week.
Yeah,
but anyway, that's where we are. So it's a bit more exciting.
So I've got the points. I've won a round just by virtue of the crazy backward leg ginger.
See what I mean? I mean, though, do you see what I'm saying about my predictions? Like every week, it's a week early because I predicted Ram last week. He scored 2 this week.
Yeah, he scored. He got a hat trick, didn't he?
You had Ram 2 weeks ago. You had last week.
Yeah. I do feel like we need to start. I reckon we do need to put new rules in it, though. Of like, you can't just pick this up. And I've done it too. I've said Hendu repeatedly, but like, we need to start picking some different people. I reckon.
No, I think it's open game.
Because
we do rotate the squad.
Because otherwise, what's going to happen is each week when we get the same people always scoring, you'll just be like, well, still no winner because everyone picked a scorer, for example.
Think about that. I mean, I think just to finish, then that's the end of our season in the PRC this year, and obviously next year, we don't know what the landscape's going to be because the championship clubs have obviously withdrawn.
Yeah.
Sort of had a protest about being not treated as equal partners within that competition. What do you think about that? I mean, what do you think?
I kind of hope now. Sorry, interrupt you. I kind of hope Ealing go and win it now, so they could just sort of like go like that to the RFU.
Yeah,
and I'm not showing you. I did a hand signal. I won't tell you what it was because it's. But yeah, so I mean, it'd be so funny if Ealing go and win it because then like the champions can't defend it.
It's disappointing. But at the same time, I totally get why they're doing it because I don't even think it's just about equality in this competition, is it? It's the way they've been treated all across the board. But I think things have just built up, and it's probably, like I said, like the straw that broke the camel's back. And so it's a disappointment, but I also totally understand why they've done it. So it'd be interesting what the alternative is going to be because I don't know how well it works if it's just English Premiership clubs playing other Premiership clubs. You're a bit like, okay, well, we've already.
Is it just going to be like the A-League again, sort of?
Yeah, that's it's like they had an opportunity to make it its own thing, and it was burdening into something nice. But the reality is, like, the Premiership clubs are trying all their best to survive. They're creating a product. They're sharing a TV deal. They can do that. They can get the same without the Championship clubs. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, the broadcasters don't look at it like, oh, well, it's great to see Ealing v Saints. It's just a game on TV for them. So that's the problem. It becomes down to hard cash. And I know, all the championship clubs feel that they've been, not respected, not provided equal footing, etc. But it's all a meritocracy, isn't it? And the reality is, my view at least, is someone who's wealthy putting together an amazing 23 at a sports ground in the country somewhere with no medical staff, background staff, no academy in place, no stadium to develop the fans base, etc., just because they want their time in the sun, taking their team to the top. I mean, that's not good for English rugby. And there has to be a point of, if a club does that and we lose a Newcastle and we lose a Gloucester or whoever because they go bust because they can't afford to be in the championship, then how long until we don't have any big teams? Because the play. I
think the problem with all, I think to be fair, probably the problem that the Prem clubs also have at the moment with the RFU is just, I mean, I remember when it all came out about the bonuses that were getting paid, and they hired in a company, didn't they? Hired a company to do an audit, and they said you shouldn't take the bonuses, and they went, well, we're still going to keep the bonuses. It's just when you've got people like that in charge, and then you've got championship clubs, the perceived or real, whichever kind of argument you want to make, kind of lack of equality or lack of access to kind of opportunities just kind of stings in the face a bit, I would imagine. And it certainly isn't a positive look, but yeah.
The only thing I would say, I think we can fact check this, etc. But I think that they did get it audited, and the review was that it was right for them to take the bonus structures because they delivered what they needed to deliver to take it. Whether they should have or not, they were entitled to.
Yeah, and whether they perhaps need to perhaps revisit those structures, maybe, shouldn't they? About what are the kind of levels you're supposed to hit? Because at the moment, I wouldn't say, even with the Premiership, and the Championship, they're struggling. I think they're struggling to put together an all-round fantastic product. There's still loads of positives for the Prem. I'm not trying to deny that there isn't, but it feels like even from an international scale, with kind of people's, and certainly mine, and I've seen other people make the same comments, just kind of their lack of wanting to go to Twickenham/Allianz and go to those games because of the kind of corporatization of them and things like that. It just feels like it's not going in the right trajectory. And so I think that's where the question is, what are these sort of structures for them to get their bonuses? Are we making it too easy? Is it just, if you put on a competition that runs from beginning to end, you get your bonus? Well, that's great, but actually it's really more about whether you're moving the game forward. It just feels like everything just has kind of stalled. Before this year, and it's probably really because of Saints representation, I really didn't care about England and haven't for the past few years, to be completely honest with you. I just completely fell out of love with and it wasn't just because England weren't playing very well, because I'd still argue they're not playing amazingly at the moment either, but it's also just having gone to games and just the experience at the stadium was just awful. We went twice in the recent years for international games, and it's just been horrendous. I kind of fell out of love with the international game a bit.
I think there's an important deviation because obviously the RF and the Premiership are completely different.
Different.
The RFU, and I get that point. I think England's come back a bit. I went to, I've gone to Twickenham
for most
years, and I get the point you make. It was over corporatised. People didn't care about the game. They're backwards and forwards to the bar. That's the day they're there. My last experience, admittedly, Max Jorgensen scoring a last-minute winner made a great day for me. But before that experience, even when we were going to lose by the last try of the game, it was a great day. The fans were fantastic fun. It was a really, really good atmosphere, and the fans seemed to be involved in the rugby. It was a great game. That helps. But, I think they might have turned the corner a bit on that. But, the problem is as well with the RFU is they have this 4-year cycle plan, don't they? So, you can show a year and it's made a significant loss. And they're like, yes, it's not as bad a loss as we wanted it to be, or as it was going to be. And so we've done really well, right? And that comes down to the Six Nations structures now. It should be 7 teams in that tournament. Every team should have 3 home games a season, not 2 one year, 3 the next. It should be a 7-team tournament, spread over a smaller period of time with bye weeks.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be the fact that they have 2 games, then a break, then 1 game, then a break, then 1 game. You don't need the second break. It's ridiculous. Why does it exist?
That's the RFU though, and it's got nothing to do really with the Premiership and the relationship.
Yeah.
So why are they not? They should be. That's why the games never get anywhere, because they're not one. They should all be building and fighting together. And we all know when it's the same conversation every year, it's been going on 15, 20 years. The RFU is so outdated. We need a friendly version of Guy Fawkes, but to do that to the RFU, just to get rid of them all. A friendly version. I don't mean do that nastily, but clear a lot of them out, bring a lot of fresh minds in, and just try and make rugby good again. Because it's just like we've already lost 3 clubs. And they're fighting against each other all the time, and it's just sad to see.
I feel like one of the
championships as well from the cup.
That's another. I feel like one of the key worries as well. I think one of the key worries of the RFU as well is just the people that are involved. I don't want to stereotype against older white men, but the reality is they're not in touch with what the game is now compared to what the game is when they played. It's so vastly different. The actual game is the same, sure, but So all the
it's not
outside
though, is it?
parts of it. No, like I mean, like the
Honestly.
actual absolute fundamental basics are the same, and that's probably about as much as you can really say. But the rules have changed, people's experience with it have changed, people's interest in it have changed. Like it just, I don't know, it just feels like there's no kind of rolling with the times.
I think that's
Just feels like a backward step. Each year there seems to be a backward step in some fundamental parts of what they should be doing.
See, Charles will know this because he's a big cricket man. It's similar with cricket. Cricket's similar. It's just run by a load of old farts that just don't want to modernise the game.
Yeah, that's true as well. But it's also like you've got to think about what the organisation actually is with the RFU. So the RFU members organisation, it's basically there to represent the whatever it is 500 clubs that it represents, right? And so therefore a lot of its revenue goes back to those clubs, right? So it does stick money back into grassroots. But it's then as the game's evolved and the professional element has come into it, that's basically an events business. You know, they put on 5 events a year, and they lease their talent from the Premiership clubs, right? And so therefore you've got now this it's just that's how the game's changed, and they haven't worked that out. I think the independent body that's going to be involved with the Premiership, so rather than the 10 clubs now arguing over who and trying to get the best out for themselves, which every club is looking to do the best for themselves. All they're looking to do is survive and put themselves in. But having an independent body making decisions across the board, I hope we will show better governance within the sport, and hopefully we'll get better sort of product, even though the product's really good, but a better display of the product out of it.
Yeah, that's the key thing, isn't it? It's like, actually, when you look at the Prem, and like when we spoke to Angus last week, when he was talking about how much he loves the Prem and how it's such a good brand of rugby, it's like the product itself, like I said, isn't the problem. It's the marketing and the display of the product that isn't doing what it should be doing. And like, I'm not saying that we follow models necessarily of that. Like, as an example, I think Rugby League took a game to the US, didn't it, last week? That was absolutely huge. I'm not so saying we definitely just chuck everyone over to America and have a go, but we just need to do something different. Like something somewhere needs to be different.
Should be going to Australia via Vegas, right? And I think they are going to do that for the next tour, right? But they're a tour too late, right?
Yeah.
It's reactive. Going, oh, that's what Rugby League's doing. Great idea. However, we've already got to do it. It needs to be a proactive. Like, what's the plan to make this sport global?
Yeah. I mean, and the reality as well, it's not like I'm going to sit here and go, oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of America. But I mean, Ireland have played New Zealand in Chicago. That went down really well. When the F1 went to the US, you know, and it increased its number of US races there, they're incredibly popular. It was already a huge sport, obviously, but it helped just increase that base. You've got Rugby League going there. Like, there's got to be discussion somewhere of taking something somewhere, you know.
It was clever to do the Rugby League, because if I get it right, I think it obviously Super League, the Women's League, an international game, and then an NLR game, wasn't it? There was like representation of the whole code.
Yeah.
And, like, it's not like this is Rugby League.
Yeah.
Full on steroids. Like, this is every.
Yeah.
So
they
why
put on
the
like
hell
an actual sort of like they put on like a sort of festival thing, didn't they? Of lots of different things.
Yeah,
and
it
seems to have gone down really well. I said I'm not necessarily going to sit here and go, let's send Saints and Tigers over to the US to play. I'm not saying that necessarily, but I'm just saying that there's got to be a consideration of some other way of marketing the product. Because like I said, at the moment it just isn't. Like I said, the finished product in terms of like what they're putting on the pitch is really good and it's really strong. But when you've got a situation of rugby union not even featuring in like the top 20 sports that people know in the UK, you've got a problem.
Yeah, and I think it's not even about growing, you know, the Premiership in America, or it's about growing.
Yeah.
And it's got a really USP in the States, because you look at their big sports, NBA, NFL, NHL, NBA, the baseball, basket, whatever, right?
MLB,
MLB, right? They're all domestic sports. They don't have a footing outside, right? Rugby is a global international sport. So therefore it's a USP selling point to the States. We're the sport that plays the rest of the world, right? And you know, I don't think just the US. I think Japan's a market that's like desperate for rugby. It's huge GDP, hugely global country. They're not doing enough to dominate that market either. You know, Japan aren't in the rugby championship by now. I don't have no idea why, and it's because they've got agreements in place with TV deals, and they wait for the next deal, and then they have a think about it. It should just be no. Let's get Japan in. Let's work the numbers out, like because they add value. They add corporate sponsorship. They add eyes on, and it's. But yeah, the whole sport that's big picture sport, but from the rugby point of view in the UK, you can understand why. What's the difference between Northampton Saints and Coventry? The difference is when the game went professional, Uncle Keith chucked £1 million into Saints. Yeah. Coventry didn't. Right, that's the division. That's what happened. You can't get away from that. The Northampton Saints for 25 years have turned over millions of pounds and operate as a professional business. They're not going to just let, Richmond, Ealing, Bedford come along and take what they've built. And there has to be.
No, 100%. Yeah.
Kids, they're circling the whatever you call them, the carts. They are pulling up anchor because it's the only way they see survival, and it's difficult, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. America will tell you all that those sports aren't domestic. Though, pretty sure the baseball's called the World Series.
I was about to say that. The World Series they're playing country.
I'm pretty sure every time someone wins a Super Bowl, it's the world champs. I said, of what world?
Yeah.
And a division, then
it's wild. But the reality is that they're actually all just humongous domestic sports, and they probably are interested in. That's probably why they liked seeing something like an Ireland versus a New Zealand, because in their minds, they've never seen two countries except for them and Canada in certain sports. That's as much of the world really as it gets. They've actually never seen that necessarily, really kind of experienced that. So it's probably a kind of different thing for them. But yeah, they'll tell you that they're all world champions. But
the thing is, though, you've only mentioned rugby league that went over to Vegas this weekend. Rugby league surely below rugby union. I know it's a northern game, but that, especially in America, I don't think they play rugby league in America.
No, but I would say that the NRL, which is massive, obviously, the NRL is the only real professional league in the world when it comes to rugby league, have been hitting Vegas for years now. They had a big showstopper last year, and it couldn't have gone better for them because the game was just brutal and amazing, right? Because the NRL is a really exciting and big league. It's that's the equivalent in Australia. That's the equivalent of the NFL in America. That's their one proper code that's bigger than anything compared to their other winter sports.
This is where we go back to what I was just saying, and you did pull a face when I said this. The old farts that run in the RFU. That's the problem. They're no, we play rugby on a certain day. They've not got that mind capacity to try and make it go boom, because if they don't, it's just going to disappear. So how many clubs does it take to lose? We've lost 3 big clubs, and you don't get many success stories like Exeter that come up and from the Championship developed, done really well, went on to win the league, win the Heineken Cup. You're not going to see that again because they're not allowing it, and the sport just needs somebody just to come in and just give them a big kick up the arse. Do you know what I mean?
They need more money at that level. The thing with Exeter came up pre-BT, right? So the gulf between the Premiership and the Championship was $1 million or $2 million, right? BT come in and instantly the deal was whatever it was, and the gulf went from the Championship clubs having £500,000 spending to, at one point at its peak, the salary cap was $8 million. We're plus 2 marquees or whatever. So the gulf just became bigger and bigger. And the reality is that's the biggest cost in the game, the players.
Yeah.
And why are they the biggest cost in the game? Was because in France they'll pay them big wages.
Yeah.
So you've got to keep up or you lose them to France. And if you don't keep up, you become an amateur league, and the French become the Europeans' equivalent of the NRL, the one true proper league.
There's got to be summing up though, isn't there? Because wasn't it this year they said to us that there was nobody competing for the rights to show the rugby, so BT just went in a bit lower, and they was either that or nothing. And then it's gone to Premier Sports as well, because they're well, we're not paying that. It's that it's a massive game, and it entices so many people to go and watch it. But it just seems, for TV wise, even on was it Amazon? We had that TV. They did cover the semi final and the final, didn't they? A couple of years ago. that's just been scrapped because I'm guessing not enough people watched it. I really loved it, but I love my rugby, so it's just insane that they're letting this and haven't got some big PR guy or lady in there that knows what they're doing, just to give this a global thing. Because it like you said, there's not many sports that you have countries playing all around the world in. It's just insane.
Not other than the big one, which
football,
is football.
Yeah. Football.
You're right. We have to accept that it's a minor sport, right? And then we've got to accept how to turn it into a major sport, right? And my idea is, you look at the Super Bowl, right? Well, every team starts with the goal of being champions of the Super Bowl, isn't that right? That's what you need to go to with a global game. Every top level team in rugby should start out with the goal of being world champions. You're in Australia, you're in New Zealand, you're in America, Japan, South Africa, England, France. You start out your season with a goal of being crowned world champion. Imagine that match, the Crusaders versus the Stormers in a world championship Super Bowl equivalent game. Like, that's what it needs. But too many stakeholders, unfortunately.
The problem it's the Southern Hemisphere as well, isn't it? You don't play at the same time. So we could have a big World Series match where, like we won last year, we could play the Crusaders in a big final to be the best club in the world. But they play at different times, so it would mess it up a bit. But
you got to unify. You can bring it all in, make a global season. I think can work. But anyway,
we'll just finish it. We say that's it. We should say just support your local team and go and support rugby and try and tell all your friends to go.
Yeah, exactly. Go come down and watch things. It's a good day out, other than Saturday.
Yeah. We promise. Yeah.
We'll ignore that one. But anyway, thanks everyone for listening. It's been an interesting one. Obviously, got nothing to look forward to for the next few weeks, but we'll come back and we'll look at the Tigers game at some point, and hopefully there'll be a friendly at some point as well. But thanks very much for listening. I've been Charles, Simon's been Simon, and Jess has been Jess.
Goodbye.
Bye.